3 championships are on the line, 2 races are left to go, but only one points battle is able to be decided tonight. However, the story of the other 2 drivers' championships banks heavily on what happens here today at Imola. The results may either give drivers an uphill battle or keep them well within the hunt. Such are the dramas of racing, but it's exactly why we love it. We'll see how it all unfolds as we get ready to watch round 14 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group's Sportscar Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the prototype in GTLM classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Also keeping us up on the GTD class is Sean Ambrose. Sean, Imola seems like a good setting for the important race we're about to watch because this place just feels like it oozes tension.
Joe, I'm making my way down into the stands now here amongst the Tifosi. The atmosphere is just electric here today at Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Ida Ferrari, commonly known as Imola, right after the nearby Italian town. We're just 50 miles east of the Ferrari factory in Maranello. Imola is considered Ferrari's home circuit and is named for its company's founder Enzo and his son, who died in 1956. Built in 1953, the original layout was terrifyingly fast. It was 20 years before safety concerns forced the track modifications, including the omission of the Variante Bassa and tighter Variante Alta. The current layout is a challenging mix of straightaways, high-speed curves, medium and slow chicanes. Now overtaking will be into Tamburello and Ravazza 1, while braver men can pass at Tosa and at Alta. The total number of quarters stands at 17 over a narrow 4.9 kilometer, yes 3 miles, on this traditional asphalt surface. Now, the best way to take a look at this track is to hop on board for a ride along around Imola with a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Imola. As we straight line the kinks along the front stretch, you're going to be sizing up your braking point into Tamburello. There's a difficult bend right where you want to slow the car up, so be careful not to clip the outside grass. Then, at the chicane, don't let the car swing too wide at the second apex. Ideally, you want control and the ability to give a little room to make that final kink flat out. From there, we approach Villeneuve, which is tempting to take faster on its more open first apex. But just like most chicanes, setting up the second half will pay off more and keep drivers from having to go at you into the next corner. It's a short stretch before we climb around Tosa. Turning in too early will hurt your exit, and you'll want all the speed you can up this huge hill. Remember, no matter how much power a car has, momentum is your friend when fighting gravity. You've got a nice blind crest just as the track bends, but it doesn't really affect the BMW. Just hold right for Piratella and try not to miss the apex like Amjad does here. It's easy in just about any car to slip wide. Now it's back downhill and into Acqua Minerale. You're going to be braking through the first corner to line up the second apex, and as you come off of it, try not to use too much of the AstroTurf on the outside. A slowdown penalty will be waiting for anyone getting greedy. Back out of the valley, get cozy up to the left alongside the trees and throw out the anchors for the Alta chicane. These curbs can easily upset the car, so try to keep the tires planted for better traction. Also, that fake grass on the right doesn't give good grip, so be wary of gassing it too eagerly. From there, the track is going to weave and drop elevation one final time. Ravazza really invites drivers to overdrive it on entry, and it's not uncommon to see them slide into the gravel on the short stretch. Obviously, the second corner is much more important here because we're dumped back onto the pit straight. Fail to get a good run, and you're going to be driving defensively all the way to Tamburello. Hopefully, that won't be a problem because as we come to the line, we've finished a lap around Imola.
That's a trip through the Italian countryside for the second time this season. Bill, as always, you give us a trip through the points, but now things are starting to get a little bit more important.
Yeah, with only 2 races to go, it is nitty-gritty time. For Robert Tinsley, the season started off well with a win and a pair of seconds, but after a disaster at Road America that came with a 15-point penalty, the Talon Motorsports driver took off the next 2 races to sort things out. Since his return in round 7, it has been a slow climb to the top. Now, Bob the Blade's success has been helped by Cy Andra's recent troubles, his last 2 races being a 5th and a 12th. How about Daniel Gralti stealing the championship for SRN? That's not out of the question. He's still looking for his first win, but in a class that has seen, get this, 7 different winners, it would be something for a winless driver actually took the crown. The biggest obstacle to the championship for Autobahn Motorsports West John Ulmer is not the 14-point gap between himself and the lead. It's Andra and Gralti blocking the way. And then there is Alex Ellis, who missed the first 4 races of the season, but he picked up his second win last round and will be someone to watch next season. Let's go over and look at the GTLMs, where it's been all Jeffrey Ooms. The AOD racer is 7 points away from locking up this championship. The Mantra has won 8 of the last 11 events. After an 11th in the season opener for TMC Stephen McGarvey, it's been nothing but podiums ever since. Lamar snapped Ryan Huff's top 5 streak at 7, but a tenth from the Autobahn West, Billy Smith, that gave SRN driver to sneak right up 1 point away from the podium. Look at that, with Huff just 1 point out, with sitting 91 back. And then there's Leif Peterson just plugging away, bringing the car home, scoring points for himself and for Autobahn East. Let's go over to the GTDs, where Rainier Racing's Bradley Haley was having his way early. Dennis Sevredek has been having his way of late. Now, even though time is running out for Sevredek, he'll be helped by the late influx of talent into the class. Names like Giuliano Romagnolo and Deep Freeze Jason DeVries could be the cushion on the track between Sevredek and Haley that allows the gap to shrink a little bit more in the points between those two drivers. But it should be noted that Deep Freeze is going to throw his hat in over in the GTLMs this race, as he's not really racing for points. SRN Scott McGarvey won't win the championship as a driver, but his team crown, that one's going to be his. How about Sheldon Rosenblum? He is secure in 4th, but the thing that the Autobahn East driver can really hang his hat on is that round 2 win at Mosport. And then the Kevin Santana for Autobahn West rounds out the overlay. Looking at the team championship, there's really not much to say here other than SRN is showing these guys how to put together a team. Remember, there is something called an I-rating cap in the Autobahn series, where you can't load up on top-tier drivers. So what SRN has done has found no driver higher than 3rd. You got Gralti in 3rd, you got McGarvey in 3rd, you got Ryan Huff 1 point out of 3rd. That's how you get to the lead. Look at the rest of those guys. Look at those other names for Autobahn East down there. You got Pence and Peterson and Rosenbaum. So it's maybe not the big names, maybe not the way to get this. And that's one of the beauties of the way the points are set up here for team championship in this series. I love it. Joe, back to you.
Oh, things are getting very, very interesting here with now just 2 rounds left. And I can't wait to see what today has in the results after all is said and done, because it could really set up some fascinating battles in the final round at Spa. Now, we're watching the last chance qualifying, so drivers who have not put a lap in are getting a lap in, or who weren't able to get a lap in, trying to get a time on the board. So before we go through the qualifying, let's familiarize you with what's going on out on track during the race with the race details. As we said, penultimate round here, 14 out of 15. They do get 2 drop weeks, which Bill went over with his points review. Today's race is a sprint race, 60 minutes, and they are open setup cars. However, the fuel tanks have been limited in this series. So even though it's only a 60-minute race, you can expect a single stop out there. They do have an incident cap of about 24, and with the chicanes all around this place, you can expect maybe 1 or 2 drivers to fall victim to that. They also have a free car, a spare car waiting if they damage it, but you really want that to happen near your scheduled pit stop, definitely not afterwards, or then you are absolutely screwed. So, Sean, we've got 3 different classes out on a track that is already difficult enough to pass with one class, so this is going to be a little bit interesting out there, I think.
Boy, it certainly is, Joe. I mean, Tamburello is going to be a great opportunity, one, because you've just got that super long straight out of Ravazza 2 all the way down across the front stretch down at Tamburello. You'll be able to get in the slipstream there and maybe pull off a pass and take advantage of somebody down at Tamburello. But, boy, then the passing opportunities really get thin. As I said in the opening, maybe Piratella, Alta, and Ravazza, you might be able to take advantage of somebody's mistakes, but you talk about racking up incident points. Watch out for Aqua Minerale, Alta. Those are very, very easy to get yourself in trouble. That downhill section from Piratella down to Aqua Minerale it can eat up the best of drivers, and we'll be sure to see lots of action down there. You certainly don't want to get side by side trying to manage Aqua Minerale. The HPDs, the closing rate will be a factor when you get into these chicanes. We've got 3 of them really to deal with. So this will be a fun race, Joe, but we'll see if these guys can keep them on track. It is 60 minutes. I just hope nobody finds that 24x incident limit.
Yeah, just to follow up that, put on my captain obvious cap here. I think lap traffic is going to be easy when it's easy, and then it's going to be hard when it's hard, if that makes sense to you. There's places to get around, but there's also places where you're just going to have to wait.
Absolutely. As we ride on board with one of the prototypes, Chris Pence, currently getting his times down on the board. Right now, he's sitting last of the HPDs in the qualifying with a 35.7. And in fact, he's got about a second and a half to get up to a new driver in that field, Kevin O'Keefe. He has joined us here in Autobahn in the other classes, but since he's not fighting for the points, he's decided to give a go at the prototypes instead. Bill, it's, well, last round I found a bit of a heart warmer in ways, because it was hard. It was hard to watch Ellis so angry about what happened at Monza, and then to see him be able to basically have the scenario repeated and take what he felt like he missed out on was. I mean, we're not supposed to root for one driver over another, but it felt good seeing him come back and snag it.
Yeah, kind of a mix of irony and justice with a little bit of revenge thrown in there as well. Yeah, it was nice to see it. I'm looking for him to get another win here today. I think this is going to play out. Tinsey, this is a really interesting championship race, though, up here in the prototypes, where you really have 4 guys still in the hunt. Even though usually I would say if Ulmer only 14 points back, that's doable. But the fact is, not only does he have to close those 14, but then he's also got to get around Andra and Gralty to do it.
Now, down in the GTD class, even though it's a close fight between both Haley and Savretic, we can't ignore, Sean, that there's the AM Championship, and that's incredibly important to these mid-pack drivers who fight tooth and nail just as much for this. The main 2 that have been between this whole season down there are McLeish and Sheldon, and that is looking really fascinating between those 2 because it's an even smaller spread.
Yeah, well, excuse me. Sorry about that. Listen, Wolojan and McLeish are now separated by Matt Owens. That's all they have in between them. They're going to start this race right next to each other on the grid. Joe, I expect it to be a fight right down to the checkers, from the drop of the green to the checkers between those 2. It could be a pit stop. It could be anything. A second, half a second, a quarter of a second, any amount that separates these 2 will be a big factor in this championship. I'm looking forward to watching the fight between Wolojan and McLeish.
Right now, Wolojan trails by 9 points behind McLeish, and so he's going to have to finish ahead of him if he wants to get himself into a good position. Another points loss will make it all that much harder to try to overtake him come Spa. Of course, he could just overtake him in the points here, but that'll take a horrible, horrible finish for McLeish, and a very good one for Wolojan for that switch around to happen. As we watch, Paul Darling currently has himself up to 6 up in the GTLM class. He's known for basically learning the track as he goes in this series, because his time constraints in the real world means he basically gets in here for this, qualifying for his practice, and then gets up to speed during the race and continues to get better pace as he goes. Bill, it looks pretty sunny out to me, even though the sun is low, but what are we looking at weather-wise out there?
Oh, it's a beautiful day to open a bottle of vino here. 78 degrees, 89 degrees Fahrenheit. Should be plenty of grip on the track. I'm looking for good race conditions, both for our 2-dimensional fans and for the drivers.
Fleming coming through Alta, and just a few seconds left before this qualifying session is over. Fleming actually might be able to get around to start one more lap, and he will be able to finish his next hot lap if he gets across the line before that timer in your upper left reaches 0. Well, this one won't count, however, and that'll make it harder to get to the line.
Soup, I've been crushing grapes all afternoon, buddy. Boy.
I wondered why the floor was sticky.
Really? You need to get a new hobby, man. Hey, we should point out, we talked about Darling getting in that late qualifying run. We talked about DeVries switching over from the GTDs up into the GTLMs. Looked like Jason's not going to put in a time, though. It looks like he's not. I don't think he's going to race with us today.
A bit sad to see. Robert Sklenka as well has not put a time in, so I think we're only going to get 38 drivers. And I say only 38.
Wow.
That's a lot around here. It'll fill up the track quickly. There you can see checkered flag is out. Darling will not get another hot lap as he crosses the line. The best he will start is 5th in those GTLMs, and I think that last lap was as fast as, yes, indeed it was. Nice last gasp effort by Darling. Sherburne comes across the line to go 14th.
Really big HPD field here today with 12, even more than the GTLMs. And then, of course, Sean's got the big field down there, those GTDs.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be in multi-class racing. The cheaper cars should be cheaper. Really not the way to put that on the less expensive cars. Should have the larger grid.
So you're going to buy me one, right, Bill?
Yeah, they must be inexpensive. They're down there. There's plenty of them.
Good time to hit them up, Joe. It's almost payday.
There we go. Chris Pence is coming around to Ravata in his DHL HPD to try one last time to get himself out of the last spot on the grid. And as he comes down to that start-finish, winding his way around this not straight front straight, he is not going to improve, and 12th will be the best he can do. So with that, let's go through our starting grid with the pole being Robert Tinsey. Bob the Blade leads the championship, and he's going to lead the way to the green. Cy Andra will start on the outside of the front row. Alex Ellis will begin in 3rd, with John Omer starting in 4th. Then it's Daniel Gralty, who begins in 5th with P6, going to Lionel Duprat, whose qualifying just keeps getting better and better, I think. There's a reason he's leading the AM Championship, and he's actually sealed it now. He is our Amateur Championship leader and winner over in the HPDs. Armando Edwards will start in 7th, followed by Elliot Mimi in 8th, another driver who's had a spate of good finishes. Mark Wilson will start in 9th, with Steve Jones in 10th. Then Kevin O'Keefe starts in 11th, followed by the last of the HPDs, Chris Pence. Bill?
I'm going to quote Elvis here because the GTLMs are all shook up. Now, it's no surprise up on top, Jeffrey Ooms. How about Jason Girard coming in? He shows up every once in a while, sitting in 2nd. Here's the guy, Leif Peterson, 3rd in class. Good going, Leif. Talked about him just plugging away, putting in points, sitting 3rd right now. Paul Darling, who's usually not a great qualifier, faster in the race. Joe talked about that down there in 4th. But then we get down to these guys. Look at these big names down here. In 5th and 7th, it's Stephen McGarvey and Billy Smith II. Now, sandwiched between those guys is Dave Hill. Ryan Huff also sits behind those guys. Huff sits 5th in the points, though, remember. Actually, 4th, looking to move up one more spot. Then there's Dale Green and Patrick Fleming as well. Sean, who do you got in the GTDs?
All right, buddy. It's going to be Dennis Savretek on the pole. Bradley Haley sits there right next to him in 2nd. Scott McGarvey will qualify 3rd. Giuliano Romagnolo 4th. Ross Booth 5th. Sheldon Rosenbaum will start 6th today, followed by Kevin Santana in 7th. Paul Lindsay qualifies 8th. Brandon Garcia 9th. Sean Reese 10th. Mark Kudrowski 11th. Alan Haysbeck there in 12th. 13th. Christopher Sherburne. Sheldon Wolosian in 14th. Matt Owens will start 15th today. 16th for Tim McLeish. And Robert Sklenka, without that qualifying, going to start there at the back of the field soon.
Watch out for that 87 car, Alan Haysbeck. He's well down the list in those GTDs. Look for him to work his way through the field. He's usually fast, Joe.
And again, a reminder to our viewers, the only championship that we will see decided today, or potentially see decided today, is the GTLM one. Basically, McGarvey has to outscore Ooms by 12 points if he wants to even have a mathematical chance in the final round. And unfortunately, with such a small field there today, he has to essentially win and hope that, I believe it's somewhere around 6th or lower, that Ooms is going to have to finish. For McGarvey to do it.
Of course, Tinsey picked up a 15-point penalty, so Jeffrey could lose his line and get some that way.
Well, in a normal situation, let's put it that way then.
Okay, all right.
Barring the stewards having a bad day out there, as we see the roof pace car work his way down to Ravazza. And we go racing for 60 minutes here in round 14 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Hope everybody had a good Easter weekend. I know at least one driver said that they had to skip out on their late Easter dinner that their family held to work on the championship. I believe, was that Ooms? Yeah, I think it was Ooms that said that. So that's just how dedicated these drivers are. They're not getting paid to do this. This is all everybody racing for their enjoyment and for pride. Let's see if Tinsley can race for pride at another championship as he gets the green flag and accelerates away from the teammates of Andra and Ellis. A good jump, pretty orderly. Back and forth, John Ulmer. Oh, and actually a challenge up for the lead, up around the outside. Andra already looking aggressive. He knows he's got to finish ahead of his rival, and he goes off track immediately. This is going to hurt and give him a big slowdown. Let's go to the GTLMs.
Ooms left a big gap between him and the prototypes. Ooms out in front. Gerard, Darling, Peterson fell back to fourth. Rounding out your top five, Stephen McGarvey. Sean?
Severick gets a great break on the start here, Joe. Soup, as they come across the start-finish line, it's going to be a fun ride down to Tamburello. Side by side, Severick, the only one that got away clean. He's all by himself, gets through Tamburello. Rest of the field following him. Everybody's still keeping it on track. They've gone line astern here.
Oh, and we saw a little bit of an accident with a Ferrari in the back, but the important thing in the HPDs is John Ulmer got into Cy Andra when he was coming back on track. That turned him around. One of our championship competitors is now at the very tail end of the HPD field. We were looking at the replay. What if we could watch an onboard of Ulmer of this incident? Because he'll get a good view of it. There you can see that's Andra going off. Oh, and I don't know if he slowed to try and serve his penalty there or what, but boy, the big cheese was caught out.
Yeah, and you talked about Andra back in ninth. Now you talked about the trouble he's been having lately. That's going to really hurt in his run to the championship. Andra making a run right now on Kevin O'Keefe, trying to pick up one spot. You see him making the move on the outside. Actually, that's the inside as they head down into Tamburello.
Yep, that's enough to put him up into 8th, getting past Rutgers Kev. Thankfully, with it being so early, at least the field is still bunched up, so he's got Steve Jones right in front of him. Good yet, still taking this lap. Battle up in front of them. DePratt and Edwards, as well as Wilson getting into it. Oh, and Wilson gets knocked off. Edwards goes across the track. Andra narrowly avoids more misfortune and gains a bunch of spots. Let's look at the replay of this.
The move is from Mark Wilson. As we ride on board with Andra, you can see Wilson heading towards the wall. Somehow he doesn't hit it. Woo. And then Andra gets off the brakes, gets off the gas long enough to let him come around in front.
Great heads up by Cy. That gets him all the way up into 6th now. Well, certainly not the championship attack that I think Cy Andra was hoping for, and this puts him about 5 seconds behind Tinsley, so not impossible, but oh, it's going to be an uphill climb. Up at the top, his teammate is going to try and do his best to hold up Tinsley as he gives a go at the lead. Couldn't get it done into Ravazza behind them as well. Gralti looking to try and get his first win. He drops back down the front stretch as Ellis gets a good slipstream. Looks around the outside. The defensive move is for naught because Ellis is fully through before they hit the braking of the first corner.
Okay, in the GTDs, Scott McGarvey had a little bit of trouble back there in Aqua Minerale, but has survived. But he may have done some damage to the other train. He's being passed pretty quickly here now. Ross Booth getting by. Paul Lindsay just gets by. Either he got a slowdown penalty or he's got some damage he's working with there. But he went from 3rd all the way back now to 7th.
Great stuff down in the GTD class. Excitement up in the the HPD class. Just action everywhere. Although it sounds like it's a little bit quiet in the GTLMs. We haven't heard from Bill yet, and you're telling me that not a whole lot going on down there.
Well, it's a movie I've seen many times, and it's Jeffrey Ohms out in front running away with it now. He's got about a 2.5-second lead. Jason Gerard doing all he can to stick with him. What was interesting, though, as it's Gerard and Peterson, McGarvey, Stephen McGarvey back to 4th, and Paul Darling in 5th, was the gap that Ohms left between the prototypes. So we're going to see lap traffic a lot sooner than we normally would.
Good battle here in GTDs, guys. Rosenbaum, Paul Lindsay going out. Oh, Rosenbaum off the track. Ooh, comes right back up next to Scott McGarvey. Rosenbaum having a little trouble finding the grip here.
That's going to slow him down on the run from Tosa to Piratella, but he stops the bleeding. Thankfully, Kevin Santana not anywhere near close enough to make an attack, as this big trail of GTDs works its way through Aqua Minerale. If they don't split up soon here, Sean, this is going to be a huge pain for the prototypes to work their way through.
When they get there, it is going to be a bit of a pain, yeah. Honestly, 4th back to about 8th and 9th right now as they're all clogged up. But up front, Savretic and Haley are pulling away, Joe, and they're pulling away quick. Romagnolo out there in 3rd, driving by himself right now.
Now, we should point out, ahead of these top 3 and the prototypes that we saw, Ellis, Tinsey, and Gralty, Lionel Duprat, he's got a few 4th places this year. He might get another one, as he's right now riding all by his lonesome, out kind of in no man's land, while Steve Jones and Cy Andra continue to battle behind him.
It might even get a little bit more if things start to heat up in front. In fact, Tinsey is right on. Maybe we better go up there now. Tinsey about a half car length back. Oh, got a bad exit out of the chicane. He's going to lose a lot of momentum. He's right behind Ellis.
So I have to ask Bill, and I think I know the answer to this one because I know what kind of headgear you like to wear. Does Ellis hold up Tinsey? Does he try to back him up to help out his teammate?
I don't understand the headgear thing.
Hats usually made of a certain type of metal. I'm not talking about steel.
All right, I got it. No, I think he's good. I think they're good. I think it's every man for himself right now.
All right. Well, it's still 53 minutes, incredibly early in this race, so a lot of action yet to go. We don't know if problems will befall Tinsey as well, because pretty much every top driver in this series has had issues and errors, either his own fault or others, all throughout the season. Uncharacteristic, honestly, of this HPD field, which is usually filled with some top-notch drivers that are lacking mistakes, typically, if anything.
Good battle back here for 15th overall. I believe it's probably 3rd in class, yeah, for Peterson. There's Peterson ahead, and then he's got... Now, right behind him, look at this battle. This is McGarvey trying to fend off Paul Darling. If you've been watching enough of these Autobahn races, you know Paul Darling is a horrible qualifier. He's now starting to work his way around, but he's got some big names in front of him. Stephen McGarvey, but I can't get over the great run that Leif Peterson is having, especially after I said in the pre-race show, he's just plugging away, bringing home the points. He's up there in the podium spot right now. Come on, Leif, veteran of the series.
Glad to see the Viking having a good run here in Italy as they climb up the hill towards Piratella. Now, our leaders have hit a bit of the GTD traffic. They got past the car of Matt Owens, and they have a little bit of room before they get to Kudrowski, but they're already starting to hit these slowest class cars. And this allowed Alex Ellis to get a bit of a break when they went by. You can see Tinsey now gapped by a few more tenths.
Yeah, and as they make their way through the field, Joe, I'm watching a couple different battles. Ross Booth, Paul Lindsay up here fighting for 4th place. The top 3 remain unchanged. Brandon Garcia now fighting with Sean Reese back there for 10th. Looks like Brandon's going to hold on to the spot for now. But like you said, here comes that HPD traffic, and they're going to get into these battles. Trouble in Piratella there. Who was that? That was the number 11,
Fleming.
Patrick Fleming, yeah. Oof, right in front of our leaders now, getting ready to come through here. He's back up to speed.
Yeah, thankfully he's going once again, but you can see they're gaining on, that is Christopher Sherburne, and they're going to get a nice little stretch before they get to Alta, so this is going to help them out. And then, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get Fleming before Rivazza. And the other thing this is doing is it's really showing the difference between these top 2 and Gralty, who continues to struggle through the traffic, while Tinsey and Ellis are basically slicing through the field.
Yeah, I think if Alex's name rhymed with Blade, he could easily be Bob the Blade too, because both of these guys are really, really good at getting through traffic.
Hey guys, Kevin O'Keefe just came out of the pits. right in front of Dennis Savretic. It's the only reason I picked it up. Did he get some damage that I missed that he had to come in?
Maybe he forgot fuel, or
maybe
new to the class. I bet you that's probably what happened.
Changes your processes. Yeah, it could absolutely happen as we continue to watch our top two find GTD after GTD in their way. It's a lot more spread apart than I thought it was going to be, so good news for them, but it certainly brought these two back together. Apologies to the rest of the field as we've been watching them so much. Go ahead.
Oh, boy, Ross Booth being followed very closely by Paul Lindsay. Lindsay gets it wrong down in Minerale. His car slides all around down at the bottom of the hill there. He's trying to gather it back up now, but now he's losing ground to Ross Booth.
We ride on board with Lindsay heading down into Ravazza. You can see the gap that has pulled. Breaking downhill into this hard left-hander. Both of them getting it nice and tidy through.
Yeah, I think Paul just got on the brakes a little bit too hard coming down the hill there into Aqua Minerale, and he suffered for it. May have even got the tires a little bit hotter than he would have liked, and he has definitely lost a little bit of time now to Ross.
I wonder if we could give some GTLM love because Leif Peterson and McGarvey still haven't let up and are incredibly tight. They work their way through the left-hander of Piratella and then down into Aqua Minerale. McGarvey thought about something in Atosa, but just didn't have enough braking into that hairpin to do it. Let's see if maybe he can set him up for Alta.
Yeah, this is a real battle. McGarvey has been trying, although he's been doing it really intelligent, not forcing the issue. But what these guys have been able to do is distance themselves a little bit. Remember, it's a 3-car battle that have Paul Darling in there. Now they've ran away from Darling. It's a 2-car fight. And Darling is actually, if you drop back one, I hate to pull away from that, if you drop back a little bit, a little tension for Dave Hill, who's beginning to run down Darling for a chance to pick up that spot.
This has been a great season for Hill as well, I have to say. Yeah. Just like Peterson, just kind of racking up the results, showing up every week and getting them together. Now Peterson is much closer, heading down the main straight. Excuse me, McGarvey is closer to Peterson.
Oh, I think he's got him. I think he's got him if he forces the issue.
He's going to have the inside as Peterson does not defend all the way to the left-hand side of the track. Breaking down into Tamburello. Give third place to Stephen McGarvey finally.
And that's Leif Peterson, a veteran of the series. First of all, he knows how to bring the car home. And he also knows that McGarvey still has a shot at the championship. He doesn't want to play a factor in that. So Steve gets that spot.
Well, the HPD leaders now catching that traffic here deep into the... the HPD leaders now catching the GTDs. Sorry, guys, I got all tongue-tied on that. But they caught him right down in Ravazza 1 and 2 and seem to be getting through pretty clean here. Ellis, Tinsey on their way. Next car up in front of them, that's going to be Scott McGarvey.
Let's drop back in that class, back to Gralty, back in third, because Cy Ander has got around Duprat and is now hot on the heels of Gralty. He's coming, and he's got great pace.
Remember, he's got so much more to fight for than just a good result here. He's fighting for his championship hopes. So he has got to try and catch those two leaders ahead of these guys. Right now, Andra is still about 4 seconds back, so he is gaining ground on the top two.
Yeah, he's coming. If he can get around Gralty, and that's hard to do because Gralty races in third position. That's his spot.
Ooh, I think Tinsey's starting to feel the pressure too because he's making some marginal moves. He slid to the inside of Ross Booth down into Aqua Minerale. Poor Ross Booth did a great job holding on to the car, being forced wide there. And that's put him into the clutches of Paul Lindsay. Those two battling for 4th position in the GTD. So that wasn't just for nothing. He didn't really want to pull over.
Yeah, it's big picture racing. Ellis is really not in the hunt for the championship, but certainly Tinsey is, and so is Andra back there. So these guys, and Gralty for that matter. So this is the prototypes is really the show this season.
You know, it's not just Gralty who's overdue for a win, who actually might lose a spot right here because Andra's got a great run. down into Tamburello. Textbook move, much nicer than what we saw in the first lap from Cy Andra to get himself onto the podium once again.
Yeah, Gralti is right there. Solid finishes every week.
But back to the point I was saying, not just Gralti that needs his first win. Scott McGarvey in the GTD class. Podiums and podiums and podiums, but no wins.
Not to be confused with the brother Stephen McGarvey in the GTLMs, who's the defending champion. He's got a couple wins. But yeah, McGarvey, compared to what was going on last season, he's way more competitive now.
And then we see Scott riding 6, so going to be a bit of a tough ask for him to get it today. But I believe last round when he finished 3rd at Le Mans, that was his 7th of the year. That's half the races that we've run if you include this one.
And we have 15 minutes in, we've reached the point of the race here where we've got just a mess here of HPD and GTD traffic all intertwined with each other, guys, trying to make their way around here now in the back section of the track, getting through Variante Alta and down into Ravazza. This is going to be tricky, boys.
Yeah, you got the Eclipse where the 2 class leaders of Medisa, there's Reddick now just getting around or getting passed by Ellis.
Ellis is going to get through easy, and Bob the Blade is going to be a little bit offline, but is now past Savretic.
Going to give you that interval now that Andra has got around Gralti. 3 seconds from Tinsey back to Andra, so we'll keep an eye on that.
So, Sean, Haley's been holding on to the back of Savretic. And put yourself in Haley's shoes. Do you push to try to get ahead, or do you try and not panic knowing that he's not going to get a whole lot of points on you with this finish if you stay behind him?
I'm going to not panic. I'm going to keep the car safe right now. Maybe after the pit stop, I'll try and go after him a little bit, maybe take a couple of chances, but keep him in sight, keep him close, and focus on 2nd place right now and just keeping the car clean.
A pair of seconds from Bradley Haley as we close out the season will be enough for him to get the championship.
Speaking of championships, if we could check in on the GTD AM Championship, Woloshin currently riding in 12th. Now, the important thing is his main competitor, McLeish, is behind him, so this is going to gain points for Woloshin. If they finish where they are, they'll make it even tighter into the final round, helping his hopes. And what's happened to Lindsay here? Seems like he's had a problem.
He was in there with Ross Booth. Did he just make the pass on Booth? Yeah, he did. No, he was being challenged by Booth and just made a mistake.
Nope, that was a wheel into the grass. So easy to do in that double apexer. Saved by the gravel trap, and away he goes yet again.
That happened right in front of Elliot Mimi and John Ulmer, who's still out there racing.
Ulmer,
maybe we can look in on that one. Mimi and Ulmer in a nice battle for 7th.
Yeah, I was going to say Ulmer on his almost traditional recovery drive at this point, as he's only gotten up to 8th. And he really got hurt by that first incident.
Wouldn't be an Autobahn race without Jeffrey Ohms pulling away and the Big Cheese trying to make up for a mistake.
Well, he's very close coming up to Villeneuve. Oh, he locks him up trying to stay out of the back of Mimi. Mimi doesn't consider himself too fast of a driver, but he is consistent. I have a feeling that Mimi's not going to fight very hard, thinking more about his overall race than what he's doing with John behind him.
I love the modesty of some of these guys. Yeah, I'm not really that good. Yeah, okay.
Considering his name is Mimi, that's pretty impressive.
Still hasn't given up to Ulmer, or at least Ulmer hasn't had a safe opportunity to get by. As they go through Aqua Minerale, they're coming up to some traffic. Steve Jones getting past Giuliano Romagnolo, who's 3rd in the GTDs. I don't think this is going to interrupt them too badly. Depends on which side. Oh, he's going to get the inside there, so nice, easy pass for Elliot Mimi. Not nearly as easy for Ulmer, who has to go down the inside. That's going to cost him some time, unfortunately.
Guys, I'm sad to report Chris Pence has lost connection. He's going to slide and continue to slide down the field. He's actually now all the way back to 36th.
Oh, sad to see. We were watching the battle for third in the GTLMs a little bit earlier. Well, McGarvey might have been a little bit frustrated because, well, his pace certainly merited getting past Peterson. He's already put a good gap on him and is trying to gun down Jason Girard, but it's 7 seconds up to him. I was thinking as you were talking about that battle there, Bill, McGarvey, if anything, was losing time and opportunity to try and do something about this championship, as slim as his hopes were.
Yeah, very much so. And then a little bit farther back, it's been a good battle. Remember we talked about Darling was sliding back. Oh, Hill just made a mistake. I was just going to say that Hill was right on his bumper. Hill had actually got around Darling. Darling got him back, and then Hill just had a slowdown penalty. He is in a tight fight right now. Here's a guy we haven't talked about. How about Billy Smith?
Yeah, Billy Smith has been having an up and down season. Right now, looking a little bit up as he gets himself into 6th past the faltering Dave Hill.
Qualified well down the GTLM roster. Now he's starting to pick him off.
The one that Smith has to worry about, who is actually behind him right now, surprisingly low considering where they are in the championship, Ryan Huff and Smith are only separated by a single point.
Trouble, Ulmer with trouble. He makes contact as they're fighting through the GTD traffic. He makes contact with Elliot Mimi down in Ravazza, losing ground big time there.
Gonna watch on the replay. This was more aggressive than I'm used to seeing from Mimi. Watch this. Turns in. Oh, no room for John. But maybe just did not expect him to be there because it was a little bit of a late move.
That was right there, nestled in with the GTD leaders. Haley's thinking, oh no, what's going on here?
Gets through it unscathed.
Yeah, that'd have been, I was just going to say that'd have been big trouble if that HPD had snapped back to the right.
Certainly would give Sir Vredick exactly what he's looking for, which is a huge chunk out of the Comet's points. No such luck in that incident. Now 38 minutes left to go. We should start to see a few pit stops here and there for anybody who wants to employ an early strategy as we take a look back at our overall leader. Ellis currently gapping Tinsey by about 7/10. Now, remember we said earlier on it was about 5 and some seconds, and it was 4 and a few tenths. Well, now it's down to 3.3 between Andra and Tinsey.
Yeah, he's coming. And this is one of the tracks, Sean, where actually, now that it's all spread out, you may want to pit based on traffic rather than just pace in general.
Yeah, what gets me out of the traffic the best is probably, like some of these GTDs might consider pitting real soon here as they just got all the HPDs came through. Might not be a bad strategy call just to get some clean track to run on.
As we look up at 4th in that GTD class, with Ross Booth trying to hold off Scott McGarvey, who we mentioned a little bit earlier on. Nice tight fight. He's got him within half a second, and he's going to get the slipstream as both Mercs work their way towards Tamburello. Not sure if he's quite close enough, but it'll bring him within touching distance. Tricky part is figuring out if they're going to defend as the track sort of bends into this first braking zone. Going to stay behind him for now.
Remember, McGarvey had big trouble 25 minutes ago when we started this race, and he's recovered. He's now up a spot and battling here for Ross Booth to get this one away.
Slowing the cars up into Villeneuve. You get a little squirt of the gas up to Tosa. Sometimes you can see a surprise attack into here, but instead it looks like Scott's going to focus on his exit to really carry his speed up the hill. Just going to be stuck behind. This track, a little notorious for being difficult to pass at.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a tremendous amount of overtaking, of course, between classes we have, but within class, this has been pretty consistent throughout the first half of this race.
It's a good battle from those two guys. Those are 10 seconds behind. We haven't really given much love. We don't need to go there, but Giuliano Romagnolo having a good run in third all by himself today. There he is.
Up on the podium. Really, as you said, 7 seconds up to the next car, 10 seconds to the car behind. And we've already seen just how much the traffic can hold you up, so I think he'll be happy with that.
Yeah, there's not even any other class traffic around him. Well, he's got the track to himself right now.
So we switch up to our leaders in this class. Ooh, Haley. Did Haley just outbrake himself into the first quarter there?
Sure looked like it, Joe. He had a moment there.
Let's take a look at the replay. I just happened to glance over and I was like, that's not the normal racing line where he is in Tamburello.
He tried to take a little chunk out of that gap, and I think it cost him. Yeah, maybe just a bit there. Oof.
Got both curbs.
Yeah. Went for the daily double there.
I was watching Haley, and he really had a tough run through traffic. That's why he's lost touch with Savretic. Savretic just had some nice. This happened to. This fell for him. The quarters fell right at the right time, and Haley was getting crushed.
Yeah, and actually, Brad's been brutally consistent. They've actually been really close. Oh, and just up in front, Savretic having a little bit of a go here with Armando Edwards trying to get by in his HPD. I think they guessed wrong, both of them at the same time. And that closes it back up. Just that little bit of having a lift there for Savretic opens things back up for Brad Haley.
Traffic giveth and traffic taketh.
Yep.
Savretic
good timing.
and Haley both know that. It sounds like we got a battle in 6 in the prototypes, though. Looks like Mimi. Well, wait, did I hear this right? He passed Ulmer? Or is this?
No.
Jones.
Got around Jones, I think. And right behind him, though, there's the big cheese coming. After having his little off, he's still in the hunt.
An off, and then another off, we should say, as well. Yeah. A little bit earlier. Steve Jones, the first on his plate. As they work their way up the hill, 3 cars under a blanket here, effectively. Nothing doing through Puritella, but they got more traffic to get in the way.
According to my clipboard, this will be actually the 3rd time Ulmer has gone around Jones today.
Wow. You can see them held up significantly there by Matt Owens, who tries his best to stay out of the way. Ulmer sticks his nose in up into Alta. Not a serious attempt. Maybe, I see. Whoa, is in the background, a big problem for Matt Owens, who collects it back together. Doesn't hit anything, but not without some drama. And now Ulmer finally. Oh, no. I thought he was going to get it. I get the sense this is a little bit of a trepidatious Ulmer after his already had problems as he gets a whiff of the draft off that GTLM car. Now he gets it done.
And then next is to take one more shot at Mimi.
What did we say about Mimi up at the top? Just consistency and a great job staying out of trouble. He's up to 6, having started 8th. And almost halfway through the race here.
Dale Green's in, guys. Bringing his Ferrari down the pit lane now.
And Dale Green is our AM champion leader in the GTLM class. Now, he could potentially be overtaken before the season is out, but it's incredibly unlikely. He's very likely to seal the championship today in that second class.
A quick jump to 15th overall. We've been monitoring him all race. This is Leif Peterson. He's fallen back a little bit. Paul Darling getting in the mix. Darling's got to back off and let Lionel Duprat go through. Duprat was all the way up, racing in 4th. He's now back to 5th in that prototype.
Don't need to go to it, but a quick update. Kevin O'Keefe has come in for his 2nd stop of the day. This one scheduled. Also, Jason Gerard from GTLM pits from 2nd.
Probably good news. He was not going anywhere, try as he might. He was all by himself in 2nd. Shake things up a bit.
This seems like a long stop for Kevin. And Jason's taking tires. Not something you usually would see.
Oh, for a 60-minute race, yeah, you don't want to be doing that.
And it looks like John Ulmer is in as well. I think Kevin may have had some issues because he has had a very, very long stop. I'm checking real quick to see if I can find what happened to him.
Yeah, I went for it too. I could not find it.
So, as we take a look at our leader, sorry there, Bill, I want to note that the gap has gone up to as far as 1.7 seconds between Ellis and Tinsey. It's come back down to nearly half a second. The big thing is that these two are actually starting to gap Andra now. It's swinging back. Andra's back up to 5.3 seconds.
Yeah, he had knocked it down. I'm talking about Cy Andra to under 3. He's lost a lot of time. Oh, and it's pit stop time.
And Andra is in as well.
With Ellis and Tinsey.
Interesting, we're seeing the HPDs all with a very similar pit strategy. Is it pretty... I wonder if it's pretty marginal here on fuel as well.
Well, they're pitting here with just past the halfway mark. Gralty's going to go around one more time.
See the spread. I think that if Gralty comes in next lap of about 3 laps for these HPDs. I think some of that comes down to, as Sean said before, where's traffic? When should I come in?
Ellis out first. Ellis and then Tinsey. That's how you would expect it to come out. And then Andra just about 5 seconds back, just about the same distance as when they went in. Boy, it is a slow pit exit here. You got to wait and wait and wait before you finally get to go.
That's a long ways past the first pit stall, which is a little bit unusual. Usually those cones are right after that first stall. Not so here. It's very tight up in the GTDs, but they're not pitting this time because Haley, within 0.3 of a second, is doing everything he can to keep the pressure on Svredic.
Yeah, Brad really looking to take a bite out of it here before the pit stop. Maybe try and get position. He's continuing to chip away at the gap, but Soup, like you always say, he's got to find a way to get around him, right?
I'm not going to go there. We'll let them rest for a while. Hey, let's follow up on Ellison and Tinsey. Their time in the box was exactly the same, about 18.8. The cone-to-cone difference, though, from Ellis was about 2 seconds faster. So he really did a good job getting on and off compared to Tinsey. Tinsey lost a lot of time behind Ellis now.
There you can see the visual gap on your screen as they work their way past that GTLM Ferrari. Oh, and we understand that Duprat and Gralty have now taken their stops, or at least are taking them now.
Yep, Scott McGarvey and Sheldon Wolojan are also in, and they are in their boxes now. Getting McGarvey, a lengthy stop for McGarvey. He's out and away.
Ellis goes by Gralty. Tinsey goes by Gralty. Let's see if Andra gets him. Yeah, Gralty's going to come out in fourth.
Not too big of a surprise there. I think Mimi takes his pit. Now, the one to watch, remember, Mimi and Ulmer were in a bit of a battle. And Mimi's coming out now. Ulmer is actually still coming down the front stretch. It's a long pit exit. It's hard to read who is going to be out ahead of the other. Ulmer's got a big head of steam. Mimi does not, and he is easily passed.
And Ulmer has our GTD leaders in tow. They go around one more time here. They have not decided to stop yet. Battle still rages on here between Svredic and Haley. Haley getting a chance here. Had a good run.
Oh, he's right up on that gearbox. I think that hurt him on the entry to Villeneuve.
Yeah, it did, Joe.
I almost wonder if Haley was just seeing if he could shake him, if he could get him to make a mistake by getting right up underneath there. He's going to get overtaken here by Mimi. Now, is Mimi going to hold up Svredic? That's, oh, nope. He's going to try and wait between them just temporarily. He sees that this is the two leaders. Doesn't want to hurt Svredic too badly. Squeezes through into Aqua Minerale, and it's game on once again. For those who haven't watched the Autobahn series before, these GTDs traditionally tend to go very long on their strategy. It is the class that has the most flexibility on their fuel out of the three. Understand Paul Darling takes his stop now.
The other two cars who have stopped are Stephen McGarvey and Jason Girard. Girard is out in front of McGarvey. Let's see what Gerard does. Go ahead, John.
Savredic's in. Haley keeps going. Savredic pulls just a last half-second move to get in there.
Now, I wouldn't think that this is a track where you could save fuel hiding behind someone, but do you think maybe Haley's done that here?
Possibly, yes. I mean, he's been following close. Sans a little bit of traffic, splitting him up at times. He's been really, really close for the majority of this race now. 35 minutes in, I would say maybe he was able to save just a little bit of fuel. Maybe worth an extra lap here. We're going to find out. You certainly don't want to run out of here. Stephen. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Stephen McGarvey get a little frustrated here trying to get past him as they come up to Puritella. And unfortunately, these cars are very closely paced, GTLM and GTD.
Don't need to go there, but our GTLM leader is in. Jeffrey Ooms making a normal stop.
Yeah, the Tifosi are outraged right now. They're like, get that Merc out of the way.
Well, that's a Ford, actually, that McGarvey's in.
Oh, it is. And
They're probably happy about Haley right now.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, well, McGarvey has plans. He would like to get up to Gerard.
Where is Gerard right now? He's sitting in 4th. And already on the front stretch, so he has a long ways away.
And actually, it looks like, yes, Gerard looks like Billy Smith has actually come out. He's made his stop. Oh, coming out right now.
Haley goes around for another one. Meanwhile, our leader in GTLM has taken his stop. That'll hand the lead over to Dave Hill, at least momentarily.
Attaboy, Dave.
Former lead guitarist of the band Slade, Dave Hill. Can we confirm that, Sue?
I believe it is, yes. I believe.
English rock musician Dave Hill.
Well, even if he's in a Ford, I think the Tifosi would be happy to see a Canadian lead here at Imola as we watch Hill ride in the tire tracks of one of the GTD cars. That is Alan Hasebeck, who dutifully moves out of the way, lets him through.
I imagine Dave's probably going to be coming in this time.
There he goes. Good call, Bill.
Several GTDs completing their stops now. Roman Yolo off the jack and down the lane. Ross Booth off the jack, down the lane. Sheldon Rosenbaum off the jack and down the lane. Alan Hasebeck is now just getting into his box. Most of our GTD field now has taken that stop, but our leader, Brad Haley, still trying to figure it out here.
I like this strategy. I don't think he was going to have anything for Savredic. He couldn't get around. He'd been trying for half a race. Let me stay out here, run some laps. Maybe Savredic gets into some traffic, and I can do it the easy way.
Ooh.
Oh, boy.
He is not giving up anything around this track. I think you're right, Bill, because he's not been letting GTLMs by. He's pushing as hard as he can, and here he comes in.
See, now, Billy Smith, in Billy Smith's mind, he's got to be thinking, why? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? There's always, you never know what's going on in the mind of the other class driver. Seems like he's all by himself. It's an easy place to give up time, but no, Haley's got a mission.
Oh, and that's a battle for position that we see on screen as Billy Smith gets past Dave Hill. Meanwhile, let's jump back to our battle for the lead in GTD because we're watching Savredic. It's coming down to Ravazza. Haley's out of his stall already.
Whoa.
Holy smokes.
Whoa, and that was a quick stop for Brad.
No tires, maybe?
I don't think so. 12.3 in the box. That was it.
It's going to... Oh! Oh, no. Bradley Haley had to take a tow.
Oh, you've got to be kidding.
He did the reverse. It was tires and no fuel, I think.
That won't work.
And as that was happening, Elliot Nebe had some issues all on his own coming through Alta. One of the 9 lives of the Nan Cat car being used on that one. Yep, we've got confirmation. Haley never filled gas into the car in the stop. So we watch from on board Gracia.
So,
Being glad
Sean,
that car spun away.
since he rolled away, does that mean if he has to take a tow, he runs out of fuel, even though he's about 100 yards past his pit box, they have to tow him all the way around? That's why it's going to take forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, our director's saying maybe they push him back. I don't think so. He's in there for a
I think you have to be relatively close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost 2 minutes now he's been in there. Now he's being penalized by waiting for the tow.
Oh.
He didn't need that.
No,
He
he did not.
He has 16 drop points. So the worst he's going to get is 16 points here today. But this is going to make this next race really interesting.
Absolutely. And we've seen as of late that Cervetic, if anything, has had the legs on Haley at most tracks. So if Cervetic is ahead of him in the points, oof, that is going to be extremely frustrating for Haley.
Yeah, now Cervetic's got this monster lead. He's, almost 12 seconds to the good on Roman Yolo.
And Haley's exited.
He heard he had 16 drop points. He says, all right, I'll take my drop soup.
Wow, I'm shocked by that. I would have thought he'd continue, just try to do whatever he could. A huge shakeup in the GTD Championship. Coming into this race, we talked about how important the race here at Imola is, and we just saw a graphic illustration of exactly why. As now Cervetic looks almost guaranteed to, if not close the gap, possibly even overcome Bradley Haley for the first time for the points lead this entire season with one race left to go. That will close our pit stops up, though. So let's run down our order, starting with the top 5 over in the prototypes. Alex Ellis has been leading since early on. Great moves at the start of the race gave him the lead. Well, amazingly, not what we're used to seeing, but he's done it. He's found the pace. He's gapped Robert Tinsley by 4.1 seconds. Bob the Blade has not looked as confident as he has at other tracks. Still, a second place is going to do him well in the championship. Cy Andra directly behind him, and he's closing. It's down to 2.3 seconds. That has been yo-yoing back and forth, but the driver that they are very much pulling away from, who is also in the championship fight, and that chance is slipping away, is Daniel Gralty in the 4th position. The big cheese. I hate that we have to keep saying this, but it really has been a recovery drive for John Ulmer. He's gotten back up to 5th, which is a good job, but it's not been easy for the big cheese. Let's go to the GTLM.
Not getting a lot of attention because there's not a lot of drama here, and unless Jeffrey Ulm starts dating Jason Girard's sister, I don't think we're going to get much. Ulm's out in front by about 14 seconds over Girard. Now, there is an interesting battle. It's about 10 seconds back to Darling. This is the best I can do for you, fans. It's about 1.2 seconds back to McGarvey. McGarvey probably has the legs to get to Darling, get a podium. And then Billy Smith has been trying to make up for a horrible qualifying. He races in 5th class. Sean?
So let's take a look now at the GTD class, and where do we stand? Well, our leader, Dennis Cervetic, has been up there the whole race, and back to 2nd is Giuliano Romagnolo, who's now clearly on the podium here. It's quite a ways back to Scott McGarvey, who's done very well to recover after having trouble very, very early, and now finds himself on that final podium spot there in 3rd. Sheldon Rosenbaum chasing about 6 seconds back. He sits in 4th. And then Ross Booth, close to making this a race right now on Sheldon Rosenbaum, sits there in 5th. And Kevin Santana now part of this battle as well.
That is your run through the field now with 16 minutes left to go. I have a bit of an update. We were wondering what happened to Rutgers Kev. Well, turns out even though that racing might be a little bit more important for some people than an Easter dinner, there are some things that are more important than racing, and a crying child is what pulled Rutgers Kev away. So understandable on that one. But Bill, this battle for the podium on the prototypes, this is getting very spicy.
You know, my dad told me there are 4 things that'll hurt your sim racing career: children, romance, work, and education. So there you go, folks. You get rid of those 4 things, you're good to go. Yeah, Tinsley, He is really losing. Andra is right there. In fact, there's nobody between Tinsey and Andra now, as Tinsey works around Lindsay.
Sounds like there was an incident with Duprat. I think we have a replay. It looks like it involves Mark Kudrowski, and I think Duprat was pretty innocent in this one.
Oh, Kudrowski just got loose, and Duprat had him. Duprat was by him.
We're going to see it here. That's the red car of Kudrowski. Outbrakes himself, loses the rear. Oh, no, he catches the grass. That's what causes it.
And I'm by, and then he rolls in and catches the right rear. Duprat, who was having a great run.
Really was. That, unfortunately, loses him a couple spots. Duprat slots down into 7th. Ooh, Andra. If you had any doubts that Andra is really pushing, fastest lap of the race in his class. Cy Andra now down to 1.2 seconds.
Boy, and I know Cy has got quite a charge going, but you know, there is one really good battle left in this race in the GTD class, in all the classes. It's the battle for 5th place. Ross Booth holding it down, but Santana and Brandon Garcia are right there, man. And they've got the Ferrari, or I'm sorry, the lone Ford there right behind him, Patrick Fleming. He running right now, what, 10th in his class, but this is a really good battle, guys. Back and forth, having to check up into the chicanes, and there's been a near tragedy at every turn here for these 4.
And Fleming's involved in that one too, right? That's a 4-car battle, right? Oh, it's a different class. You know, Garcia was talking about, I'll give it a go. What car is he racing out there? Is that the Ferrari?
Yeah,
it is.
Yes.
The Per
Good for him,
as he was calling it.
Yes, the Ferrari. Yes, that's right.
What if we could give a little bit of love to Alex Ellis? We saw his battle earlier on. We've been focusing so much on the championship battle between Tinsey and Andra. We need to remember, this is going to be, I believe, the 2nd or 3rd win for Ellis. Yeah.
3rd win, and remember, he missed the first 4 races. If he decides to come back and race with us next season, and I hope he does, he's a force to reckon with.
Oh, he's improved greatly since he came in. I am majorly wowed by Alex Ellis, and I think we need to give him plenty of credit if he comes away with this win in this fashion. As we watch Darling have a nice little fight with McGarvey. This was a bit brewing.
Yeah, this is the one that we saw when we did our rundown that would be interesting.
He's right on top of him now, and they're coming up to the GTD cars that are all line astern just ahead of them.
Oh, this will be fun to watch.
It's one thing when you've got the HPD and one of the other classes involved, but when it's the 2 GT cars, we mentioned this earlier, they're very closely matched on pace, and it makes it harder to try and get by, so they can be so much more of a block to stumble over. As poor Darling, you can see, has nowhere to go. It's going to get the slipstream down the front stretch, just off of Garcia.
Boy, and this is the thick of the field right here, Joe. There's a lot of action going on here.
Rossi is going to stay off to the right. He's trying to let him through. The better braking of Darling puts a car between himself and McGarvey, and a car making a mistake behind them. That's Patrick Fleming.
Yeah, this is here just to spice it up a bit. Here come the prototypes. This is Ellis going through.
That's our leader. Gets 2 of them. Whoa! As the cars in front of Ellis come together, that was Darling and Santana, and Darling almost gets into the side of Ellis as he threads the needle.
I thought there was contact. He's going to split the middle there. Oh.
Well, he thinks about it, then tries to go off to the right.
Here comes Tinsey.
Tinsey. Actually, where is Tinsey? He's
behind
well
all
back
these
there.
guys.
Oh, and Darling off. Darling well off the track through Aqua Minerale. Stephen McGarvey takes 3rd place on a silver platter.
And then stay on it, director. Right as that spin. If you get a chance, we'll get another replay. You can go to Tinsey at the same time because it's interesting. You see Tinsey back in the yellow car in this replay. Watch this one, though. He goes off. Now, maybe we'll run at the exact same time that was going on.
What? This is
Tinsy.
Andra coming up behind him. Watch this. Whoa!
Yeah, right there. There it is.
Nearly gets into him. We're going to watch the replay from on board because that angle didn't really show you how close it is, but you can see the lockup. He knows he's up there. He sees the traffic. He's trying to gain as much time as he can until he realizes that might be a little too hot into that corner.
So now Andra's got some more work to do. He had ran down Tinsy. Tinsy continues to be in the mix of stuff, though. Bob the Blade got to live up to his name.
This is our fight for second. Remember, Andra 5 points behind, guaranteed at least 6 points behind because of the pole position that Tinsy got. That's a bonus point in this series. Oh, and a car getting tipped behind them. Billy Smith gathers it back together through Tosa somehow after contact with Paul Darling. That was for position.
And Darling went off track himself for a little adventure, managed to gather it up.
Who is that blue GTD car? Oh, and actually he gets together with Darling right now if we come back live.
Darling's done. That was
Incident
a DQ
limit?
for Darling.
Oh.
Into the ether, as you like to say there, Joe.
Oh, no.
Who was that? I'm trying to figure out. Because he narrowly scrapes by around the outside because he saw the incident happening.
I think he made contact with Fleming.
So we stay on Darling. It's going to be...
No, it's... I think it's Peterson made the dive bomb on Darling.
No. So that was actually within class. That wasn't a GTD car.
No. And those guys have been fighting the whole race.
Might be a few words between those two after the race. Now we finally come back live after all of that.
Like it called back to the trailer for that one.
Well, it seemed like just all the classes just all got together in the same part of the track there for about 3 minutes.
These gaps keep getting bigger and bigger, including the one up top. Ellis seemed to have the best time with that traffic because I believe it was about 4 seconds or something before, and now it's 9? Is that right?
Yeah. Tinsy was just in a mess.
What if we could jump back a little farther, give some love to a battle farther down, because Edwards and Jones fighting for 8th down into the prototypes. Very tight together. Got a feel for Steve Jones. He was riding high up as, I believe, up to 4th at one point. Has slotted down the order.
Yeah, I've seen Edwards off in the Italian countryside a few times. Looks like he's going to get this pass made on Steve P. Jones. And if his name's not Parnelli, I'm going to be upset.
Easy pickings for Armando Edwards to get himself into 8th. So here's where it gets interesting. The championship fight is between Andra and Tinsy up at the top of the points, even though Gralty is relatively close behind, but looks like he's going to lose points as well. It's down to 7 minutes left, so the chances are starting to run out.
Well, look at Andra now. Andra's right on the back of Tinsy. My gosh, he closed like a store going out of business. Right in behind Tinsy right now.
Traffic just not playing any favors. Tinsy holds it together, but he's slow off of Villeneuve. Up and around the outside. Here comes Cy Andra. Championship implications here. If he can pull it off, he carries the momentum. He's going to be on the wrong side up to Piratella. He tries his hardest to get that car to go farther forward, and he's fully past him. Cy Andra finally gets himself by Robert Tinsy and closes those few crucial points for the championship.
Joe, you made a great point earlier in the broadcast where you talked about pole positions. This championship might actually come down to who has the most poles.
Oh.
Look at this.
Defensive move, and he parks it right at the apex and the exit as Tinsy cannot do anything with Cy Andra, who outbraked himself into Alta. Now that he's got it, he is not willing to give it up. Down to 5 minutes to go. We'll try and jump over to Alex when we get to the end. Apologies, Alex, but this is for all the marbles between these two. We've got to watch this fight. And especially now that Savretic is all by his lonesome and Ooms has this thing sealed up, this is the big one. A little bit more breathing space for Cy Andra, the New Englander. Looks like maybe he could get himself a little bit of a gap. It's only, what, 3 laps to go now?
I'm seeing about 3.
Working their way through traffic. That's Romagnolo trying to stay out of the way.
And, you know, one battle we haven't talked about, except for at the beginning of the race, was that amateur battle between Woloshin and McLeish. They're still right next to each other on track. McLeish, this is in the GTD class. Woloshin leads McLeish right now by just about a second and a half. Woloshin sitting in 9th, McLeish in 10th. I don't know if anything's going to happen here before the race is over, but it's been a good battle nonetheless.
Boy, what a call you made earlier on. Wow, things have tightened up between our second and third and the prototype. But Sean, you said it earlier at the top of the broadcast that it could come down to a second between them, and well, it just about has.
It just about has.
Same thing up here in the prototypes. More traffic in the way. That's Jason Gerard with Dale Green. Those two are in different classes. You're going to stay out of the way, and this actually helps with a little bit of slipstream going to Cy Andra. Doesn't help Tinsey, though. The way that this race has been going, I get the sense this is going to come down to traffic and when they hit it.
They get around Sherburne. And now they got a bit of clear track in front of them for a while.
The GTD leader up ahead of them, Savretic, who's actually got a massive gap of about 14 seconds to Romagnolo, who we haven't really mentioned, has got up onto the podium. He's in second place. Great drive by the New Jerseyite. I believe New Jersey, right?
Yeah,
Joe,
we checked.
It's been uneventful.
Oh, no, Canadian.
Right.
Sorry.
Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, it's been fairly uneventful for him. I mean, it's been a clean race for Romagnolo.
The one time we checked in on him, he had that interval. He was racing all by himself, and that continues. Tinsey maybe has a shot.
Oh, he's got his nose to the inside as they come down to Ravazza. And I don't think that Tinsey is going to give this opportunity. Oh, wow. I thought for sure he was going to stick his nose in there, maybe setting himself up for here. Coming out of the final quarter. He's too far back, though.
Almost wondered if Andra may be running a little less downforce. The car seemed to have a lot of straight line speed. Or maybe the little bump, the little punt that Tinsey did into the back of Andra slowing him down some. Oh, look at this! Oh, that's a lap car, sorry. Well, he got around. It was the leader, Dennis Savretic, there. I saw the first place, and I said, oh, my.
I think you oversold that one just a little bit there.
A great job of Savretic getting out of the way.
Well, down to 2 minutes to go. And we're going to get white flag, I believe, next time by.
Should be next time. That's what I'm seeing.
Absolutely, because Ellis still has about half a lap to go. With them running laps about 1:33, certainly cannot get to the line before then. There's our leader, working his way up to... Oh, Bradley Haley's returned. I did not see when he came back out on track.
Comments do, baby.
Yep, Brad's sitting there in 13th right now, Joe.
Didn't even think about that until you said it, Bill. So Bradley Haley is trying to get whatever points he can. So is Alex Ellis. Unfortunately, he is not going to be able to win this championship because he is mathematically out of it. But still, this will help him gain on John Older a little bit, we should say.
Andra having to work around McLeish, and now he gets around Woloshin. I don't know if Tinsey has anything for him now.
He's going to... Oh, is there any traffic up ahead of them? They've got Jeffrey Ooms. And Haley is a long way ahead. I don't even think they're going to get to Haley. So this is their one incident I think they're going to get where traffic could come into play. Don't worry, I'm keeping an eye on our leader so we can watch this until right down to the last moment. We're on board with Tinsley. Too far back into Tosa. They now start to catch up to Ooms. Ooms has a whole 14 seconds over Gerard. He really does not need to put his car into a bad position.
Nor does he want to, yeah.
Yeah, stays off to the right. Oh, but this is no good for Tinsley. He gets balked through Ackerman and Raleigh. That might seal the deal.
We talked about it in the pre-race show. It's easy to pass when it's easy to pass. It's hard to pass when it's hard to pass.
So let's head up to our leader, because Alex Ellis, hats off to him. The driver from Canada has taken the lead by force and not given it back ever since. Ellis takes win number 3 for this season.
Andre and Tinsley are going to come across second and third, and then right behind them it's going to be Jeffrey Ooms.
Savretic into Ravazza.
As he comes out of that final corner. Does this mean we will see Savretic in the lead of the championship points for the first time in the entire season? He takes the win here at Imola. And as Bill mentioned, Andra ahead of Tinsley is going to close the gap. Meanwhile, fourth in GTD. That's Booth and Gracia within about 4/10 of one another. Oh, and Gracia outbreaks himself through Alta. He's going to get passed by Mimi, who's going to get himself a 6th place in that prototype. Another good finish for Elliott.
One last chance here.
I think the Nyan car is a little bit too far back.
Yeah.
And are McLeish and Woloshin done with this race yet? I think they actually might be done already. And it looks like Woloshin was ahead of McLeish at the line. So with that, let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. But don't go away, because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Imola. We just watched round 14, the penultimate round in this season of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. And things did, in fact, get interesting in the points championship, at least in the HPDs, and it did in the GTDs as well. Alex Ellis took home the win as another feel-good one, I'd say, after the struggles that he's had this season to get himself up to the top. But the real thing that everybody is talking about is Cy Andra beating Robert Tinsey and closing that gap back up in the points championship, taking it down to the final round. Daniel Gralty took fourth. We didn't really get to look at him a lot. Really haven't been giving enough credit because he's keeping himself in the championship hunt as well, but it's going to be a lot harder, and he has to rely on misfortune from his competitors. John Ulmer as well is going to have to hope for big things for himself at Spa, taking fifth to date. Elliot Nemi is becoming a bit of a trend here, taking quiet runs up into mid-pack positions. With a sixth today, Armando Edwards finishes behind him in seventh. Lionel Duprat is our AM champion, and at the prototypes now taking eighth today. Mark Wilson behind him at ninth, and Steve Jones rounding out our top 10 in the prototypes.
In the GTLM, it's 9 out of the last 12 races as Jeffrey Ooms gets another win. Jason Girard gridded in second, comes home in second. Now here's the mover. Stephen McGarvey gets the final podium spot. He was able to get around Leif Peterson and Paul Darling to pick that one up. Another guy who made some run up through the field, Billy Smith the second. Dave Hill, a top 5 for him. Leif Peterson, we talked about his issues. He was racing in third for a while. He's going to come down 6th in class. Ryan Huff, a quiet 7th. Then we got to go all the way down to Dale Green, who's in there as well. And I think that probably Paul Darling well down the list. And Sean, who you got in the GTDs?
Soup, our big winner, Dennis Savretek, never expected to win here. He gets it. Giuliano Romagnolo with a nice, clean second place finish here on the podium. Scott McGarvey, Soup, you mentioned it early in the broadcast. All that guy's done is managed to pick up podiums. Well, he did it again. Scott McGarvey finishes third. Ross Booth, fourth today. Fifth goes to Brandon Garcia. Those two battled for the whole race. So did Sheldon Rosenbaum was in that mix. He finishes 6th, 7th, going to Kevin Santana. Sheldon Wolosian going to finish 8th in class. You see Patrick Fleming mixed in there. He'll finish 26 overall. And I believe he was 9th in class, if I'm saying that correctly. But Sheldon Wolosian, well, he's going to finish 8th today. 9th going to go to Tim McLeish. Those two battled it out for the entire race. And it ended just like it started. Alan Haysbeck there in 10th, Matt Owens 11th, Christopher Sherburne 12th in class, 13th going to go to Bradley Haley. Disappointing race for him and an awful curious fuel thing happening there. So Mark Kudrowski will finish 14th, Paul Darling you see there 34th overall, Paul Lindsay 15th, Kevin O'Keefe with, well, I guess a disappointing run for him, but hey, the baby took over, no problem. That's going to be a 11th in class for him. Sean Reese going to finish 16th in the GTDs. Chris Pench in the APDs will finish 12th. Jason DeVries, and he'll finish 11th overall, or I'm sorry, 11th in his class. And Robert Sklenka didn't get any laps in, neither did DeVries. So those two at the back of the field, 39th and 40th guys.
We have our winner waiting to talk to us. Alex Ellis takes win number 3 here at Imola in season 6 for the Autobahn series. Alex, I'm curious because you were 10th behind in qualifying, but you looked much stronger than Tinsey during the race. Do you chalk that up to just raw pace, or do you think Tinsey maybe was holding back a little bit, thinking about his championship?
Well, I don't think I really got a representative lap in for qualifying. I made little mistakes here and there. So I was excited for the race, especially knowing that Cy and Robert, there was a good chance into turn 1 that they would be battling each other pretty hard. So I was happy to be starting from the second row, knowing I had that pace in hand.
There's a lot of concerns about the prototypes and trying to overtake in some awkward places around here, since it's a little tough to get a run on cars good enough to get by them before the next corner. What were your thoughts? We did see you have had a few hairy moments throughout, but do you consider it pretty well behaved today?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely with the traffic on a tight course like this, you really have to commit when you do go for it. So I was considering the closing speed of both the GTE cars and the GTD cars. You obviously have to approach them differently. But it went pretty well most of the race. I just had that one problem on the second last lap. Gap kind of closed, but luckily no harm, no foul.
Now, Bill's already getting excited about the potential of you getting into the mix to go for a championship next season. Will you be back for season 7?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be back next year, and I'm excited. I've put together, I think, the last 5 races I've been in. I've been in the top 2, so I'm excited to actually be relevant in the point standings. So season 7 is going to be good.
All right, I have no doubt that it will be. Congratulations on the win. I look forward to seeing you at Spa.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
It's Alex Ellis, our winner today, who deserved a little bit more attention after we didn't really give him much, focusing so much on Audra and Tinsey. Up next, another driver that didn't see a whole lot is Jeffrey Ooms, who I believe has now sealed the championship, and Bill is going to talk to him.
Well, I'm glad he sealed the championship. Otherwise, I'd have absolutely nothing to ask him that I haven't asked him the last 8 times. Jeffrey, congratulations. This time it is official. He got that championship.
Awesome. That's good to hear that we locked that up today. I was pretty excited about that.
Well, I'm not going to talk to you much about your race because it was wire to wire pretty much. Do they have, I will need to know a few things about Canada. Do they have April Fool's Day in Canada too?
Oh, yeah, they definitely do. Definitely get some pranks pulled on you if you're not careful around your close buddies there.
Did you have any worries this one? Were you almost fooled into making some mistakes this race?
Maybe just by myself pushing it, just because I honestly didn't have much else to do, I guess. But other than that, it was a pretty calm and collected race there. So not too much traffic and not too much worries for anything.
I've talked to several drivers that have dominated series before, and I usually ask them this question. When you're having those kind of races, do you race at 90% or do you race full all the way on? And I've heard from drivers that they make more mistakes when they start to back off. It's all about rhythm. They're safer at 98% than they are at 85%. Do you kind of feel that way?
I definitely do. Around here, going into over down the hill into that weird kind of double apex right-hander at the bottom of the hill, I kind of go maybe 80% into that just so you don't clip the grass and spin it. But everywhere else, yeah, you go 95, 98%, something like that, and just keep it between the lines, and you should be all right.
Yeah, it's all about rhythm. Well, you've certainly got the rhythm going here. Good luck to you. One more race to go, and let's see if we can go wire to wire next time.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Jeffrey Ooms, the Canadian star. Joe?
We have our second place finisher in the prototype, Cy Audra, waiting to talk to Sean. Now that he beat Tinsey today, Sean's going to ask him about his prospects going into the final round.
Don't call it a comeback. Hey, Cy, before we get started, from our director, myself, everybody here at GSRC, thanks for having Amjad down as a guest there at COTA. Exciting conversation with him about his experience there in the pit box and hanging out with you guys. But let's talk about the race a little bit now. Interesting start for you there, wasn't it?
I have to say that wasn't my best start. After I kind of blew the first corner, I panicked and I was trying to let everybody by, and I guess it was definitely the wrong thing to do in hindsight. And I'm disappointed that I let myself have such a rookie moment, so to speak, and that John got caught up in it. But you got to learn to move forward.
Yeah, John referred to it as your first lap follies. And hey, listen, it's not how you start the race; it's how you finish it, right? And well, you managed to put yourself on the podium after fighting way back. And congratulations on another great win, Cy. You're a real ace out here in the iRacing service. I've got to ask you, what is the most challenging part of this track of Imola?
Oh, definitely Aqua Minerale. It's just such a high-speed entry, and you got to get the car stopped, and even just a few inches either way on the curb is what it upsets the car, just sends you out into the dirt or the runoff, and it feels amazing when you get it right on the qualifying lap, and you just nail it to perfection.
Okay, so now we found out what the trickiest part for you here is Imola. As we look forward to Spa, what will be the strategy there? Have you given it much thought yet?
Not quite, but I know at this point in the championship, considering I finished just ahead of Tinsey, I think we're going to be tied, or one of us is going to have about a 1-point lead going to Spa. So basically the way it's going to turn out is whoever finishes ahead of the other is what's going to decide the championship, I think.
Well, that's going to provide us with plenty of excitement here in a couple weeks. Now back to the real world, real quickly. Tell us what you were doing down at Coda a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I got a new gig. As some people know, I'm still an undergrad student for mechanical engineering, but I managed to land an internship with a Pro World Challenge team. So I'm doing data analysis for them.
And that is very cool. I'm all about analytics and data. Very interested. We might have to talk offline about that sometimes. How'd the team finish down there in the PWC?
Oh, in St. Pete, we got 2 podiums. In Coda, we got another podium, and we got 5th place in the second race. So I think right now we're second in the standings overall. So pretty successful year so far.
Are you guys running the Ford Mustang?
No, we're running GT. So we're actually running the Mercedes GT3 car.
Ah, okay. Very nice. Very nice. All right, Cy. Always fun to catch up with you. Thanks again from our boy Amjed and from all of us here at the team. Lots of good info there from Amjed on what it was like there at Coda, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Definitely. I hope to put on a good show.
All right, fellas. That was Cy Andra, second place finisher today in the HPDs. Joe, as we were talking about during a break, man, this was a lot of fun tonight. We really have a lot of fun covering this series.
The Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge never ceases to deliver, it feels like. Even after, we're closing up towards the end of our 5th season of coverage. We only missed the first one of these 6. And we want to thank a few people for all that coverage that we've been able to do. Of course, a big thank you to the Autobahn Motorcar Group, who has been the official sponsor since the start of this series. And thanks to John Ulmer and his team of people who help him organize everything behind the scenes. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Sean, Amjed, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, as well as Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to get all notifications of our upcoming races, go to our YouTube channel and click that big red subscribe button when you get a chance. The next race is the final round of this season. That'll be Spa, and it'll take place on Monday, April 16th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.